long-held position as chairman of the Dandava Group to enter a self-imposed retirement. Peace. Quiet. He had wanted to re-enter the United States through Galveston, to see for himself all that a people could rebuild. When they'd flown over the Gulf of Mexico, he could see the freighters lined up to enter the port, like a message written in a string of Morse code. Breaking waves ribboned the coastline in white. When they crossed over the beach and American soil was beneath him, his sense of relief was palpable. He was a mariner who had found his shore. For the rest of the flight from Galveston to New York, Sandy Chaudhry remained fixed in his seat, his face framed in the aircraft's porthole as he considered the country unspooling beneath him. There was, he thought, an innocence to the United States, one it perennially reclaimed despite its past, despite its wars, disease, and even crimes against its own citizens. In America, you could forget. And if you could forget, you could again be innocent. This was America's promise. The reason Chaudhry had returned. He felt a slight lurch in his stomach and a tightness in his chest as the plane bled altitude on its approach into JFK. Chaudhry wasn't returning to America for only sentimental reasons. Before departing, he had installed his daughter, Ashni, as his successor at the Dandava Group, placing her at the helm of the private equity empire he'd created with its hundreds of billions of dollars under management. There were now practical considerations to attend to. Life had dealt Chaudhry a weak heart. He was dying.
12:14, March 12, 2054, GMT-5, the White House. This was her last chance. That was the message the White House Chief of Staff delivered to Marine Major Julia Hunt, who stood at attention, heels hinged together, flagpole straight, having placed herself at 6 feet in center in front of his desk. Her boss, retired Admiral John Bunt Hendrickson, sat with one palm kneading the front of his bald head as if warding off a migraine. Hunt had once again stuck her nose where it didn't belong. She'd fulfilled a request for an intelligence assessment that should have remained unfulfilled. That assessment, titled Advances in Remote Gene Editing Among State and Non-State Actors, never should have left Langley, let alone the White House. "I don't care that he's the vice chair of the committee," said Hendrickson, speaking to Hunt as if she were an obstinate child, striking a tone that felt familiar to them both. In addition to being Hunt's boss, Hendrickson was also her godfather, and had been a steady, if not always steadying, presence throughout Julia's life. "I need to know this won't happen again, that you understand what you did wrong." "It won't happen again, sir," she said. "But do you understand what you did wrong?" She struggled to look him directly in the eye. Her gaze instead fell over his shoulder, where the news was streaming live on his computer screen. Hendrickson was familiar with this posture of avoidance. Since Julia's adoption at 9 by his old friend Sarah Hunt, Hendrickson had been a mainstay, the person Sarah had called when Julia broke curfew, mouthed off to a teacher, or on one occasion, accused her adoptive mother of being the one responsible for her parents' deaths 2 decades before, in San Diego, where they, along with thousands of other migrant workers, had vanished in a flash of nuclear light, leaving no trace. Hendrickson repeated his question. He wanted an assurance that Julia understood what she had done wrong, except that Julia knew she'd done nothing wrong. Senator Nat Shriver was vice chair of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, or SSCI, which everyone in D.C. pronounced Sissy. Shriver had a right to read the report.
12:16, March 12, 2054, GMT-5. The Ritz-Carlton, Tyson's Corner. Lily Bow sat on the edge of the mattress, buttoning her white silk blouse. One at a time, she picked the scattered pillows off the floor.